All right, ladies and gentlemen, back once again for 2 Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. The emails are coming out, folks. They are rolling and rocking. And I don't care what order you read them in, they're bad. Whether it's Prince Andrew, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein saying Donald Trump is the worst person in the world that he knows, not a redeemable bone in his body. How about that one? How about that? Mr. Fung. I always like to refer to the OJ case whenever I can, and the crime scene collection situation there was awful. Because these emails are worse than the OJ crime scene. Let's get into it. Brock Canellis joining us now on a Friday. Brock in the friendly confines of the Upper Hudson Valley, just outside New York City. Brock, I mean, these emails are horrible. You can run, but you can't hide. Even Prince Andrew getting caught up in an email. Prince Andrew writes, I can't take any more of this, he wrote during the Epstein scandal. I mean, he knew what was coming. He knew he wasn't going to be able to duck it if it came out. So he's sorry. He's sorry he got caught.
Can't handle it. Can't handle what the fact that people know what he was doing. I mean, it's like,
Exactly.
I mean, it's hard to be sympathetic here on anyone involved. I probably haven't read as many of the emails as you. I mean, but I look at like my feed on Blue Sky and they're just flying by one after one, because it was 20,000 of them.
Right.
Trump can't, and it's just fun. I was funny as you were saying, I was like, Epstein's such a bad guy that he hung around with Trump for like 10 years, even though he considers him the worst person he's ever interacted with. So obviously he was getting something out of it, right? Money was flowing his way, influence, like there was more to the picture that we don't know. But I think at this point, there's so much information flowing out, incriminating, that it's obviously Trump is deeply embedded in the Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew, that cabal, right? And all sorts of activities around it. The question is the Trump tactics of trying to get himself out of it, right? Usually he just lies his way through things, like just bold-faced, blunt force lying to try to convince everyone else in the world that his reality is a true reality, like the election interference stuff, right? Or the Russia, the interactions with Russia, just pretending like there weren't any. Then when he loses, it had to be interference. And he's still, 5 years later talking about the 2020 election, right? And trying to convince America he didn't lose that election. So when it comes to the Epstein files, I'm just expecting more of the same. Today's tactic seemed to be par for the course that, hey, if you're coming after me, no, I'm going to go after somebody else. So he's instructing Bondi to do an investigation, Epstein file investigation into Bill Clinton and others. I don't know if I caught all the names. Bill Clinton was definitely the headline name that came out. So Bondi's now got to get a team together and run around and they're going to go through. So now the Epstein files exist. So we have acknowledgement they exist, and we're not talking about them as a hoax anymore. Now we're going to dive deeper into them to find the Democrats, in particular Bill Clinton. So he's going to try to deflect.
Right. Because if I'm in them, it's kind of okay because I won't let you see them. But if Bill Clinton is in them, we're going to tell you exactly what he did, and we'll get to the bottom of it for you because he's the guy that has really done something awful. I may have done something a little untoward, but whatever Bill Clinton did, and these Democrats in there, and the Democrat hoax, the Epstein hoax involving Democrats, that should be the investigation that we're conducting. I mean, the guy is just an idiot. He's a tool of just incredible proportions, and this country deserves better than a leader who's caught up in an international sex trafficking ring, than a leader who is psychologically, obviously imbalanced. I mean, Mary Trump has said that herself. A leader that is a sociopath. Just some of the allegations alone that we had heard and seen in court records. Donald Trump has never been well. He's never been balanced. I mean, this guy has been out of control for a long, long time.
Well, Mark, we have like 26 or 30 credible allegations of adult women.
Right.
On his behavior, right? Before we got to now the underage girls, right? So, I mean, we have a decades-long track record of his, deviant behavior. So, yeah, he's a problem. Now he's an old dementia ridden,
Yeah.
slipping into incoherence leader of the most powerful nation in the world who's trying to fight off the quote nuisance of his past.
Right.
And I mean, you've said it a few times, right? I don't know if you saying. I think earlier today you were saying he didn't have a curveball. We had been saying that he's lost all the oomph off his fastball, so he's just not a sharp guy anymore who can even keep straight in his mind what his lies and stories are. So in a way, he's like for the first time really ducking the press, right?
Yeah.
Like usually he likes to spar, but now I don't think he even thinks he can, win these
No.
battles.
And the problem, well, from the very beginning, it's like, again, one of those things I thought we had covered. I didn't think you could BS your way into a presidential position, into the presidency of this country. I mean, let's look at people who've been president, right? I mean, even W. We didn't, think he was the sharpest tool in the drawer, but we didn't think he was dumb. We knew he loved America, right? When we saw the way he handled 9/11, we knew he loved America. Look at the men who have been president, right? They were least at least competent, right? And understood the power of delegation, understood the power of the American government and all its levers of power.
They had all accomplished something and
Right.
proven themselves to some level in the political arena. And so they'd had to answer things under fire. They'd had to deal with constituents. They'd had to make judgment calls and explain their positions. They had to kind of understand things and articulate, kind of well thought out arguments. And he never did. Right? He just got on stage and insulted, Rubio's and called Jeb Bush, low energy and like barreled his way through the process without ever really showing, a command of anything. But we let him get away with it. Like we enjoyed the show. We let it be a game of Survivor. We didn't, his feet weren't put to the fire. Media went along. They loved it. It was a carnival act and America was in for the carnival act. And then of course, the followers, the true believers, loved the racism.
Right.
They loved the xenophobia. They loved the punching down. They loved the way it made them feel. They felt like he was giving them the keys back to their country, and instead of having to share it with all these others, it was going to be theirs again. So they've been looking away ever since. And it's why I think MAGA is going to continue to defend and deflect and even in the end look away and downplay Trump's activities because they can't give up their social positioning in America. And I think that's going to be the ultimate disappointment, Mark. That's your next big disappointment coming your way. That
Yeah.
even when faced with the evidence, you're going to watch white America just shrug their shoulders.
Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Mark, think about that. Okay, let me just finish. We'll throw one more thing at you. Think about how the Catholic Church just shuffled priests around who were molesting young boys, and instead of ever having a true reckoning, right? They would just move them around and sweep it under the rug, and pay a fine and all that shit that would go on. I mean, we have the blueprint for ignoring atrocities, even against children.
Yeah. I mean, look, if that were to take place, and if white America were kind of to shrug their shoulders, doesn't decent white America say, you know what, that's a bridge too far. This guy's got to go. We can't be governed and looted by this type of, dangerous individual. Oh, by the way, while we're talking, we just blew another boat out of the water in the Caribbean, down there in Venezuela, off the coast of Venezuela. That's 20 even, right? Who knows how many lives? They're never going to tell us, right? So yeah, at what point does decent white America say, bro, I can't do it anymore. I can't in good conscience. Women, fathers with young daughters. If you got a 14-year-old daughter at home, can you imagine, first of all, your daughter being homeless and being found out by being rescued by a Jeffrey Epstein, a Donald Trump? Ghislaine Maxwell pretends to be this motherly figure.
Look, I think Megyn Kelly tried to lob out the first line of defense of, indecent white America of, oh, it's not that bad, 14, 15, they're almost at the age of consent. It's not like these, it's, 5 or 6 year olds. I don't know how how do you correlate? How does she connect that dot against her own 14-year-old? Is that how she would really feel about it if it was her daughter involved in the situation? So you're seeing the attempts by white America to either downplay, deflect, or, kind of talk around the story. Yes, I do think there'll be a lot of people in decent white America that are already fed up. I don't think Trump would even be close to winning another election. Right. But are they at the point where they're bubbling over and they're going to hit the streets for impeachment and saying that we need a change right now? I don't think there's evidence that we're there yet.
Wow.
We're pretty certainly not there yet.
Wow.
Maybe more evidence, maybe more clear Epstein evidence will push more white people in that direction.
Right. But goodness gracious. I don't even understand why we have to have this conversation in 2025. Like, why aren't people just willing to say, look, we need better. We want a better role model for our children. Who at home right now is saying, hey, son, I want you to be like Donald Trump? I can't imagine there's a whole lot of dinner tables where that conversation is happening. I can't imagine that. I bet there's a whole lot more white dinner tables that are saying, be like Barack Obama, than are saying, be like Donald Trump. I'm just going to believe that.
Yeah, but they're doing that, he's an imperfect vessel, but we like what he's doing for the country, right? Like that's the deflection, right? They've already punted on Trump as a person, right? So now He's just a vessel for an ideology that they're happy with. So yeah, no one's saying be like Trump, but we like what Trump's doing. There's still a lot of MAGA out there.
Yeah. And that's the scary part, that there is still so much MAGA out there. And, there's so much MAGA out there that we need to be concerned.
If there wasn't, it wouldn't just be 100 congressmen threatening to vote for this, Epstein discourse. I still can't remember what the hell they're calling it, right? There'd be 220, right, on the Republican side. So 100 is less than half of them, right? So there's still a lot that are just hanging in there, feeling as though either personally and or that their constituents don't care.
And
don't want to see it. Don't want to know.
And Mini Mike Moses Grinder Johnson wouldn't have be running around trying to figure out ways not to swear in members of the House of Representatives. If she wasn't going to make the 218th vote, which she did immediately, and as soon as she was signed in, she ran over and signed, that bill to get these emails released. So, look, Ghislaine Maxwell is still enjoying the fruits of her labor in a cushy, club-fed penitentiary. It is what it is. Some people don't feel that molesting children is a huge crime. Now, why was Bongino and Kash Patel and the like and Joe Rogan and all these people screaming for the Epstein files? They're not screaming so loud now, are they? That's a problem for me. Kash Patel walking around in a hoodie and jeans and sneakers while he's leading the world's most prolific intelligence gathering crime fighting agency. And, we're supposed to take this guy serious?
It's the intoxication of power. Yeah, they wanted the files released and they loved all these conspiracies when they were, podcasters and trying to get clicks. But now that they have the job and they have their hands on the levers of power, they're going to roll along with it, right? It's pathetic. It's sad, but that's the seat they get to have as long as they do what's in Trump's best interest. The sad part is there's so few in government today that care about what's in the national interests or the interests of the people of America. How much of it is all about Trump. And you couldn't write a script that would be more absurd, that you actually have an entire party in the world's greatest former democracy all defending their leader against charges of being a pedophile and very, very obvious evidence to the affirmative, but that their entire stance is to protect him and shield dear leader from these transgressions. It's
Right.
fucking unbelievable.
Right.
But
Right.
it's reality.
Right. So what do you think is so far Epstein has also ties to the Kremlin? We found that out.
Yep.
And he apparently leaned on his foreign policy connections in one of these instances in some bilateral meetings in 2018. So, Russia's involved in this as well. And now remember, we've always heard from the very outset of the Russia investigation that compromise was the issue that got Trump hemmed up. I mean, to me, this is just another nail in that coffin.
Yeah. I mean, Epstein was making, I guess Epstein was making a lot of money
Yeah.
off of blackmailing people, either aggressively or tacitly, of having shit on everyone. So there's
Yeah.
no doubt I wouldn't surprise me in the least that he was feeding stuff to Russia and making money off of it.
Yep.
And I totally believe the theory that he was also working for the Israeli government because he had such ties to senior people in their government that he was also finding shit out and funneling information and or blackmailing people on their behalf.
Right.
Because how else did he get so wealthy, right? Like he had very, 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 very valuable information on a lot of people.
About important people. And there's some celebrity, stuff in there too. Woody Allen, Sun Yi's name is in there. It really is. It's quite disgusting.
That's not a name that surprises me in all this.
No,
The
of
Woody
course
Allen.
not.
I mean, come on. He married his stepdaughter or something. Come on.
That's problematic. And any way you cut it, we were all mortified by that when it went
So
down.
this is gonna roll through. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, as you just said, we're bombing more boats. What are we calling it? Project Southern Strike or something like that. Nail in the head. Like, so they're, we're still itching to go to war somewhere in the Venezuela corridor.
Right.
And we also have the Trump administration saying that they're not going to release economic data, specifically unemployment data and inflation data for the month of October, because they just can't get that information together because of the shutdown. And, we'll get around to that next month. So they kick the can down the road while they figure out how they're going to engineer better numbers than are really out there. So we're not going to see economic data, but the markets are already starting to buckle because
Because the market
everyone's projections of the holiday season continue to come down, whether it's seasonal hiring, which is an early indicator. If Amazon's not hiring as many people, that's probably because they don't think they're going to be moving as many boxes, right?
Yep.
And if Walmart's not hiring as many people seasonally, probably because they don't think they're going to have the foot traffic they've had other years. So everything's lining up to a slow holiday season, which just means that's very recessionary talk.
Right. And, everything is up, Brock. Beef, coffee, bananas, right? Everything is up. Tomatoes.
I have
Go.
Professor Hayes, I have a question. Because you mentioned coffee. If tariffs don't cause prices to go up and are not a tax on the American consumer, then why is Trump talking about lowering taxes as a way of getting coffee prices down if the tariff wasn't the reason they went up? So explain to me how the tariff has no effect on the price rise, but lowering the tariff is going to get a price decline. Professor Hayes, can you please put those two things together for me?
This man is a moron. He thinks we're falling for the banana in the tailpipe. He thinks
I mean,
he
so
don't get it. He
he
thinks he don't get it. Prices are now back where they were at the high point during the Biden administration. Now, nobody wants to implement price gouging policies. Nobody wants to say, to Kroger and to the, grocery store industry, you can't just arbitrarily raise your prices. You've got to have a reason that your prices are going up, and you must show us what that reasoning is. Was there a cold snap in Florida? Is that why the orange juice prices have gone up? Was there an issue with pork bellies? I'll never forget pork bellies from Trading Places. Right? Is that why bacon has gone up? I mean, tell us what is going on as to why these prices need to be blown up. Aldi's not raising prices.
The
Why are you?
media destroyed Kamala for bringing up that
Right.
exact topic that they were going to look into companies on unfair like price gouging and collusionary pricing, which when I heard it I was like, wow, that's fantastic, and she got destroyed for it.
Yes. And she was beat up on it left and right. They wouldn't let it go. Wouldn't let it go. And said she had no answers for inflation. Remember this? I mean, this was it is, something to behold the hypocrisy of the mainstream media. And, if you'd be pissed off if you were Kamala too. You absolutely would be pissed off for if you were her.
Because we do fall for the bullshit.
Right.
Liars like Trump do get away with it, and he will come out and he won't like get called on the fact that he'll get championed for lowering tariffs and having coffee prices come down, and he'll like do victory laps about like, cutting the price of coffee, even though he's the one that jacked it up, right? But media will go along with it, and he's
And
already
they'll
trying
let
to
him.
hijack the
Yes.
term affordability. He's going to go like on an affordability, barnstorming tour because he's the affordability president. So he's
Right.
just hijacking the term that was used again, which lost him all those elections just 2 weeks ago. But the
Right.
media will roll right along with the game. They'll love
It's a
every
joke.
second of it.
It's a joke. And, nobody will call him out on any of his BS. That's what's annoyed me for so long. Why can't he be? Everyone else in the history of politics has been called out except this clown. Why? Why? He's not bringing in that much money to mainstream media anymore. I
Anymore.
get it. I get it in the beginning where it was the wreck you couldn't look away from, but not anymore. I mean, now everybody's like, oh, what'd he say now? Oh, I missed it. So what? Before it was like FOMO. Now it's just another
Now
day.
I get a sense like Laura Ingraham got aggravated with him the other day. So even some, because of the comments about the American workers.
Yeah. We got no talent.
Now what's happened is that the mainstream media is so owned by the right wing that like they don't want to upset the apple cart of that plays into their beliefs and the freedom they've had, right, to operate and do all these mergers and just enhance their values, right. It's a
Right.
selfishness aspect to it because nothing Trump says is holding up, right? But he
Right.
hasn't, he should be getting ripped apart. This media should be a feeding frenzy on him right now.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, if you mean, think about Watergate, right? Like it was just
Right.
a couple of newspaper guys topple the presidency. Like everyone in the media, like there's so many stories to go after. It should just be a deluge. Like there's in a normal media environment, Trump's gone maybe by end of year because
Right.
it would just be so much stories and so much would be coming out, but it's all being bottled up. I still don't think it's going to hold. I just don't know, what's going to break the dam. It's it's
Yeah.
it's it's directionally positive for us on the left,
Right.
but it's still moving at way too slow a pace.
Right. Right. All right, bro. You got a quick hit for me?
I got a few. Like one is I did see that there's some new protests going on down in D.C. and the topic, and I'll find this link for you. And the topic they're trying to rile up. It's not indivisible. It's not no kings. They're going straight for impeachment now. These are like impeachment protests that someone's trying to get going. Remember the No Kings actually started as a like what was it? Hands off with the first one. Remember I
Yeah.
told you I hated that
Yeah.
as a moniker, and they did end up burying it, right? And then they moved
Right.
to No Kings, which was better, right? Because it played into the oligarchy thing and all that. But now I like to see that the theme turning towards action item, like a protest for impeachment, and they're talking about encircling the White House. So early indications of that bubbling up, because that's the protest we've been talking about wanting to see all year. So I don't know if that's a quick hit, but just an informational tidbit. I guess my quick hit is, I guess this one maybe goes back to you. In Georgia, they have decided to follow through despite Fannie Willis getting bumped off of that case, that a new prosecutor is picking up the election interference case. Did I read that right? I know that's local to
Yeah,
you.
happening, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Because I gotta imagine if the evidence is presented, somebody's going to jail.
All those guys that just got pardoned, but they're not pardoned in the
But from
state.
state
Yeah,
charges.
yeah. Like John Eastman was the name I couldn't remember the other day. Was the
Yes.
lawyer. Jenna Ellis and John Eastman were like
Rudy
the
G.
brainchild.
Rudy G still on that list. So, you folks are still in trouble. So let's see if they, sacrifice those lambs um, here in Georgia. I would love to see it happen. Brad Raffensperger, who, by the way, is no hero. We know what he did in the 2018 election to Stacey Abrams. We know that he and Mr. Kemp removed close to 1 million names from the voter rolls. She only lost by 50,000 votes, and they're still playing the same game. So, the good thing for Warnock and Ossoff when they were able to win their runoff elections was that they just had two horrible candidates.
Yeah,
Lost,
Purdue and Kelly
yeah,
Loeffler and
yeah,
Purdue.
awful candidates. Nobody could get behind those two clowns. So, we'll have to see what comes up and follow that very closely because, again, that's going to be in Fulton County where you don't have the luxury of, red Georgia. Fulton County is definitely purple.
I was happy to see that they were picking it up and they're going to go forward again because apparently it was a deadline, right? They had to decide by last night or by today or something like that
Yeah,
whether or not they were going to assign a new prosecutor and go forward. And I just didn't want them to drop it because if you drop it, then Trump's bullshit that like it was stolen, like he gets to pretend like he was innocent.
right, right. And we all know he was because we all heard the phone
We
call.
all heard it. Yes, we got to fight him on every
We
front.
all heard the phone call.
Okay, I got one more quick hit. So Ken Burns, he of the phenomenal documentaries, is
Incredible.
launching a new one on the American Revolution. It's coming out now.
Right.
Heard him on the radio, this and that. And apparently he's already given part of his pitch and his on these is that America doesn't really want to know its true history, but he's put together an honest and true history, not a grandiose version of the Revolutionary War, but the real American story of how brutal it was, how it was a civil war and a Revolutionary War at the same time, and how it wasn't as, gentrified, shall we say, and clean and beautiful as we like to look back on it. It was like some dirty, dirty pool and a lot of, carnage and
Can we call it whitewashing? Was it?
yeah, whitewashing. So supposedly he's pitching this as a true story of the American Revolution.
Okay.
So I look forward to it because I think America needs that, and I hope that takes hold, and I hope that he's doing his part maybe to do that reckoning, and I'm sure, and I think there's some racial reckoning that goes on in there as well.
Yeah.
Because we forget these founding fathers had blacks as 3/5 of a human being, right?
Right.
We love them.
Meanwhile, they're the granddaddy to a bunch of biracial children.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson particularly, right? He's got a whole
You know it. All right, buddy. My Fannie Willis story was going to be my quick hit, but because remember, with Fannie Willis, the Georgia Supreme Court, refused to hear her appeal.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Back, I want to say early October, maybe September. I'll check on it and get back at you tomorrow. But yeah, they refuse to hear, like they're busy. They got other stuff going on, right? We got peanut farms and stuff here. They
I would have loved her back on the case. I was like, who cares that she was
Right.
dating some guy? What would it have to do with fucking
Had nothing
anything
to do with
to do with the
nothing
case?
to do with the issue. So yeah, my friend. All right, well, good stuff for a Friday, my friend.
All right, Mark. Always a pleasure.
Yes,
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
manana. Stay loud and proud. Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl. Be ready. All right, buddy. Peace.
Adios.
Oh, it's just rubbing people the wrong way all over the place. You gotta love it.